What's going on, everybody? Good evening. Coming at you guys a little bit later than usual because I am trying to do this whole post-practice video thing regularly as soon as I can after the information gets propagated out to X. So I guess it'll become a little bit of a tradition going forward. If we actually have practice on a particular day, then I'll be trying to get on it as soon as I hear details. So let's talk about today's Seahawks practice. Obviously, the first one after the Titans game as we head into this final week of the preseason. And mostly today was about injury updates and roster updates. Wasn't necessarily a lot of stuff that happened on the field in terms of like highlights and stuff that like, oh wow, that guy made a one-handed catch falling out of bounds while jumping into a bottle of Gatorade or something. No, we didn't get nothing like that. We got information, and it's good, important information for us to have. So let's dissect it, starting with a little bit of roster news. This is an addendum to yesterday's roster news. Aaron Wilson with some information about some workouts the Seahawks gave out. We already know about Casey Bowman and Michael Ezeki and Devin Garrison. Talked about those guys yesterday, or excuse me, earlier today. But we also worked out three other tight ends. Jay McAfee, Isaac Rex, and Max Wright. All three of those guys are tight ends. So it doesn't seem like we're in a panic about the tight end position because these are not high profile guys, but we want to give ourselves a lot of options for the last preseason game because we're going to have guys at the very back end of the roster playing in that game a lot. And we don't want to get caught with our pants down to where, looks like Brady Russell's going to have to play the whole game now, or looks like AJ Barner has to play the whole game. So keeping out in front of that, but none of them got signed. The guys we signed were the guys that I talked about a little earlier today. So that's most of the roster stuff. Crabtree specifies that in order to make room for the two guys that we signed, the two tight ends, let go of linebacker Devin Richardson and cornerback Willie Roberts. Obviously, there was no real pathway to the roster for them anyway, so not much of a loss there. They were guys who probably would have played a little bit in the Browns preseason game, but that's really all you can say. All right, so that's basically putting all the ducks in order for the roster stuff. So let's take a look at the news as it has been given to us, starting with this from Brady Henderson talking about Pharaoh Brown. So Pharaoh Brown, the foot injury he suffered Thursday looked bad, but according to Brady Henderson, even though he doesn't have anything necessarily super concrete yet, he doesn't think it's a season-ending thing. In fact, he went as far to say is that he's under the impression that it's a strain. And if it's a strain, he has a good chance of being back by the first game of the regular season. So that's called dodging a bullet right there, right? Pharaoh Brown is a veteran in the NFL. Him missing a little bit of practice is not the end of the world. If he doesn't miss any regular season games, then that is a bullet dodged. And I know he's just a backup tight end, but he has an important role to play on this team. So it's a little bit of a bullet dodged. And a little bit later in the day, Brady Henderson went a little bit further. Brown posted an update to his Instagram. You can actually go to his Instagram and look at it, but he's getting a second opinion on his foot injury, and he's walking without crutches now, and his goal is to be back by week 1. So it looks like that's a possibility. Not going to sit here and say that it's likely, not going to say that it's going to happen, but the fact that it has a chance to happen is, of course, very encouraging on that front. As for George Fant, McDonald didn't say anything concrete about Noah Fant. This is going to get confusing this year, believe me. There's going to be more than one moment like that this year, trust me. Got two guys named Fant. Stuff's going to happen. But general vibe seems to be that Fant will be fine, so I'll take that as good news. It's been very quiet with him lately. And also back today, another injury note was D. Eskridge. D. Eskridge was on the practice field today for the Seahawks, so he might have a chance of playing in that last preseason game. Although I got to tell you, at this point, Eskridge is going to have like 200 yards to even have a chance to make the roster. He's going to have to score like 3 touchdowns in that Cleveland game because he's so far behind all these guys that are actually doing things while he's been doing nothing because he's been hurt. So too little too late in all likelihood, but he does at least have a chance to play against the Cleveland Browns. Maybe he'll return a couple punts for touchdowns or something. Also taking to the field, and this was certainly the big news of the day, even though it was somewhat expected, it's nevertheless good to see it actually happen. Connor Williams Connor Williams took to the field today, actually warmed up with the Seahawks and took some snaps, did some work. John Boyle has a little bit from Mike McDonald about Connor Williams getting on the practice field. They have a plan to ramp him in. It's good to see him get a few reps today. Hopefully, we'll keep that process growing as we head towards the season. So today was very minimal. Today was very much a test ride for Connor Williams, but that's headed in the right direction there, I think. So great news there. Love to see that. I don't know if he's going to play against the Browns. I don't know if he needs to play against the Browns, but we may see him for a little bit there. It kind of depends on whether or not we want to play Geno Smith in the preseason game. Because if Geno plays, you want to have your starting center out there. Moving along with the more offensive line stuff, McDonald was asked about Abe Lucas being back ready for week 1. McDonald basically next questioned it. He basically said, I don't want to answer that at this moment. So that's not great. Now, Condota here in this tweet does point out that it could be hedging since teams don't have to report on injuries yet, and you don't want to give away more information than you absolutely have to an opponent. So if you're the Broncos coach, you'd really probably like to know if it's going to be Abe Lucas or George Fant out there. And if you can delay letting them know what's going on there as long as possible, then that's a good thing. But it's hard to feel great about things right now with Abe Lucas. Because, I mean, McDonald did give us some other injury updates in the last couple days, right? He did say he thinks Jerome Baker will be back. He did say he thinks Connor Williams will be ready. He did say he thinks that Pharaoh Brown will be ready for week 1, or at least that's the goal. So the fact that he just kind of no-sold the answer is not encouraging. And if you're a Seahawks fan, you are right to feel concerned about Abe Lucas's status for week 1 at this point, I think. But we'll see where things go. Obviously, this is not a very concrete update. If he is out, we don't even really know why, right? Like, they haven't even said concretely, like, what is wrong if something is wrong. So we got to let this play out. But not a great update there. Also, Condota noted, and this has to do with some roster flexibility stuff that is valuable. Stone Forsyth. Sorry, we are going to get a lot of names scrambled today. Stone Forsyth was the backup right tackle today. George Fant was, of course, the starter, but Stone Forsyth was working at right tackle with the second offense. So Forsyth is getting ready to provide backup reps on both sides of the line potentially, because remember, in the preseason game against the Titans, he was playing on the left side. So that flexibility is nice, but it's kind of an indicator that maybe they're worried about where this Abe Lucas thing is going to go. He also noted that after a preseason game where Christian Haynes got to play a bunch at left guard, we were back to normal today. Laken Tomlinson took all the reps with the starters at left guard, and Bradford and Haynes swapped places back and forth at right guard. So they're kind of back to normal there. We're going to have a conversation about that Bradford-Haynes situation and how we deal with that, because that's a very interesting subplot of the 2024 season. In fact, Greg Bell was actually asked a little bit about Haynes versus Anthony Bradford, and he didn't really give anything away, but he also didn't commit to anything, right? Like, if he felt like Bradford looked much better than Haynes, he'd probably admit as much right now, but when he was asked about Haynes versus Bradford at right guard, he said, we're still in it right now. So, seems like there's still an opportunity for anything to happen here. And obviously, I think Bradford's been a little bit better so far in the camp and preseason than Haynes. But this might also clear the path for Haynes to end up starting at left guard, because Tomlinson, there's a low ceiling there, and Haynes looked comfortable at left guard to my eye in that preseason Titans game. So this is encouraging to me. This is something that I would really like to see. Haynes playing significant snaps in 2024. Dugar talking about some injury stuff as well, because that was kind of the name of the game today. Jerome Baker got some work, so on his way back. No indication that he actually was out there doing like full speed stuff, but he got some work. Lance Boykin is back, so good for him. Obviously, he's fighting for that practice squad spot at this point. Charbonnet still out. Draymond still out. Miles Adams out. And Miles Adams played against the Titans game, so whatever is going on there is new. Probably not significant, or else we would have heard about it, but Draymond and Charbonnet have been on and off the field for the last couple of weeks now, it feels like. So worth a little bit of concern there, maybe. Condotta listing some injury highlights as well. Jack Westover remains out. Obviously, not a big deal at this point because of all the tight ends that we have in the building, but he's out. And Tyler Lockett is not doing team stuff, but he is out there working. So it seems like we're just taking it very easy with Tyler Lockett. We're just going to let him take a lot of days off this year. We're going to let him take it easy, and we're going to count on him being out there and performing for us when we need it. So looks like Lockett is going to be just low, kind of low usage in practice this year. And if it's his last year, it makes a lot of sense, right? Final thing, this concerns the last preseason game, the game against Cleveland here, the home opener for the season as well. Mike McDonald says he doesn't yet know who's going to play against the Browns. He doesn't know what's going to quite go down there. He needs to talk to some veteran players to see what they want to do and kind of put that in his evaluation. So we don't yet know what's going on there. Greg Bell in this tweet does editorialize a little bit. He thinks that Geno Smith will play, or at least he wouldn't be shocked to see Geno Smith play. But we don't know yet. And I'm going to be fine with pretty much whatever. I think it would be a little bit weird to have a whole preseason where you don't see your starting quarterback once when you're running a new offense. But at the same time, I understand that you do get most of what you need in practice these days. So we'll see which way they go with it. All right, those are the notes that I got out of this particular practice session. So let me know what you think down below. Welcome Connor Williams to the squad. Now we just need the injury bug to continue to turn a little bit here, show us a little bit more, and hopefully shrink a little bit by the time the season actually starts. See you guys later. Probably not another video today. If so, keep an eye out. It's always possible. And I'll see you guys tomorrow in all likelihood. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Have a good night.